Hey guys, what's up? So as of recording, tomorrow is going to be the last Ultimate Cup with EX5 and BT15 fully legal, and I think it's going to be really interesting to kind of go over a tier list of what decks I think are going to show up the most, slash like potentially win, slash kind of like take a majority of top cut. Since this meta is like pretty much unsolved and it never will be, I think that there's going to be actually a decent chunk of options that you'll probably see going forward. So I think that'll be super exciting. We'll just go down the list here. Starting off, we have SecCon. I think SecCon is fine. However, unfortunately for it, it is poorly matched up into one of the best decks in the format, being a Pokemon. And even if you think that a Pokemon isn't the best deck, I think that people are going to be playing a lot of it. A lot of a Pokemon, a lot of Anubismon, and if you cannot handle a Pokemon being probably like 50% of your matchups, that in Anubis, I think that you probably don't have a space in the meta right now. But I think it matches up somewhat okay with a lot of the other decks in the format. So I think I'll probably put it in it's one of the options. I think that you probably won't top. I think you'll probably get kicked out after going like X2 to like a Pokemon deck. But, you know, if you really love SecCon and you truly believe in it and you have some spicy tech that I don't know of, by all means, I think it falls really well and could potentially top. Machine Dramon, I think it is probably worse than SecCon, unfortunately enough for it. Both it and SecCon kind of do nothing. They sit on a defensive towers. For SecCon, it is their security, and then for Machine Dramon, it is their Machine Dramon. However, unlike SecCon, Machine Dramon is a lot easier to deal with than a bunch of option cards and security. It is also really targeted, unfortunately, by a lot of cards that also target a Pokemon and a Anubismon, such as cards that have Grave Hate. Putting back your cyborgs is devastating. It essentially just stops you from fully playing the game. Preventing you from reducing play cost is also horrifying. It again stops you from playing the game. There's not much Machine Dramon can really do about this. They've gotten a healthy chunk of support, but I think right now, especially in this current meta, Machine Dramon is something you take if you just really like the deck a lot. Up next, Red Hybrid. I think Red Hybrid can top. I don't think it's good enough to win the whole thing, but I think it is good enough to at least make a top cut profile somewhere, and you're going to see probably right around the same list that everyone else has been seeing since the inception of the deck back when the new support came out. I think the only thing that will probably be different is you will be playing maybe some combination of like Gatsumon, some combination of like the Garudamon, and some combination of like maybe a Merciful mode or two to try and actually stop your opponent from getting their full thing off and actually try to interact with their game plan, which in of itself I think fully admits that this deck is not able to keep up with those game plans as well as they used to anymore. Next, we have Beelstar. Beelstar is, I think, a disgustingly good deck. I think Beelstar is so good with the EX5 Guru support. I think that the fact that it has two different modes, I love a modality in a deck where you can go from being the aggressor to kind of being the controller, or back and forth and as you please, where you have the Garurumon line, and depending on how the ratios are, you can actually start kind of forcing and looking for lethal. Or you have the Beelstar side, which is your, I would say, depending on your ratios, your primary game plan. I think I like the Beelstar side a little bit more. I usually go a little bit less on the Melga side, and I use it as a means to kind of take back tempo from my opponent, and then start swinging in for those massive checks with like the Garurumons that I have in the back. Up next, we have Numemon deck. I think Numemon is one of the best in this tier. Right here in the can win tier. I think it is situated super well into the meta. I think that there are very few decks that actually can answer what it's doing, and I think that there are very few common floodgates that will also really hurt the deck in what its current form is. The two that come to my head are like Pillamon, Gatsumon, and like those effects, and then Merciful Mode and decks that like and cards that like really hurt with the trash. And I think I'd say Merciful Mode, but I'm not gonna say the Uber Black Automon, purely because of the fact that the Uber Black Automon only puts back a single card, whereas the Merciful Mode will put back a majority of the trash. And so putting back a single Numemon won't mean anything, but putting back all of the Numemons will actually put a damper on the deck. However, again, the deck has a modality as well, where it's super fast and can easily kill you on your turn 2 or your turn 3. Depending on the hand and stuff. As Rush is so many ways to enable actually like sneaky kills that you weren't expecting with Louis, with the Rush Numemon and Satsuki and Chimeramon. You get a surplus of bodies, and they're all extremely sticky. And the top end is full of disgusting cards like Venusmon, Ruin Mode, Quartzmon, Death X, Merciful. They can play any yellow-black top end and feel exceptionally comfortable. And honestly, I think that this is a deck that we will have to be expect to deal with going forward. And unsurprisingly, if anyone else has seen my deck profile, I'm exceptionally happy about that. I think this deck is super fun. Bloomlord. I think Bloomlord is probably towards the bottom of this tier. I think that Bloomlord is situated really well into this meta, just because of how easily they get their floodgates out, the kind of game plan that they have, and kind of what they want to do. I think situates them pretty comfortably, especially against decks like Anubis. I don't think the game plan itself is still good. I know everyone is constantly talking about how good Bloomlord is, but every time I see it, and every time I play against it, and every time I play it, I always feel kind of underwhelmed. But I can definitely see it thriving in a meta that really speaks to it currently. Coming up next, we've got Lugamon. I'm gonna put Lugamon, probably it's gonna be the top of this like top strategy. I was gonna say like tier 2, but I don't really feel comfortable saying Anubis and Apocally are tier 0, but that's up for, I think, debate with like a lot of people. Anyways, I think Lugamon is in a rough spot right now. I think a lot of the decks in this tier it has a hard time dealing with, and I think that certain floodgates and things that are going around also unfortunately really target this deck, from not being able to play by effects to hurting trash to not gaining memory. All 3 of those things are devastating for this deck and kind of stop it from playing properly, which isn't awful. I've seen this deck still kill on their turn 2. Not consistently, but should the cards be drawn in the right order, it definitely is still a threat. I think the major issue with it right now is a lot of players that I've seen play this deck use Hell Lugamon to kind of slow down your opponent while getting insane amounts of value. But in the current meta, there's nothing that you really want to be Hell Lugaing in a comfortable way. Like you Hell Luga and Apocalypse, it may be completely unaffected and it doesn't matter anymore. Plus it's a level 7, so you're trashing a hefty chunk of your hand. I can't even remember if Hell Luga lets you trash up to 7 either. There are like cards like Venusmon and like Quartzmon and Ruin Mode, and the floodgates here, and like a lot of decks don't even care about getting their stacks deleted as much anymore. Like, yeah, you can delete the Melga, but at this point they already got what they wanted out of it. And then for the Numemon, you delete it and then they get more stuff back out. For Anubis, I think that it just rivals you in speed. It can just out tempo you really easily, and it's something that you need to be looking out for. We got Mirage Galgamon. I think I'll probably put it right here. I think this deck is pretty comfortably in a solid position right now with the Bukamon, and then I think it gets a little bit worse, but then it receives some more support next set with the the Grace Novomon support. It's the level 4 champion that gives jamming as an inheritable. I think this deck is good. I think it's a solid deck. I think if you're playing it, I think you're going to be able to comfortably do well with it. It has the same problem in my mind that Shine does, which is it feels bricky. It feels like you're existing and you are insane and it's crazy and it's the best deck in the world, and then all of a sudden it's like next game it's like, fuck, I have like 5 Thomases in hand. God, this sucks. Or fuck, I don't have any Thomases in hand. God, this sucks. So you're really reliant on your trainings to try and like find the right pieces you need. And honestly, this format is exceptionally fast. So if you take too long in finding those pieces, you will be left behind, I believe. Blue Flare. Blue Flare is good. Blue Flare is solid. I think Blue Flare is always kind of a little slept on. I think that Blue Flare, you could take it and comfortably do well. I think it has a decent matchup into a good chunk of decks, and I just don't see people playing it as much as I used to. I think it's still a very solid deck that you can be playing and see a lot of success in. Devas, ooh, I think I'll probably put Devas here. I think I could put Devas here. Devas are very interesting. They're slower than I think I would like to comfortably put them in like the can top tier. And unfortunately for them as well, I feel like most level 5s that you stick on the field will not be just like attacked into randomly. Like a Pokemon can just not attack, and Anubismon will be popping them pretty consistently. I think against other decks, you have a bit more game, obviously, to get your aces out on the field for free. But I think it is still a little rough. If you get to Fanglong, you're set though. If you get to Fanglongmon, you're really, really happy. The problem is just getting to the Fanglongmon when you're not getting as much value out of your cards as you would in like I feel like a typical format. But once Pokemon and Anubis are gone and not actually as big of threats, I think it finds itself it's situated pretty decently. I think you could definitely take it. And I think it is for sure a locals hero. You could take Devas on top of locals pretty comfortably. Shine. I think Shine is good. I think, again, Shine is really good. I don't see people play it as much anymore. I think Marcus is really solid. I think that because you can play multiple copies of the red and yellow training boosts, it's situated really well. I've taken Shine to tournaments and I've topped with it and I've done really well with it and I've won with it before. And it just always feels like you're chasing a dream. And what I mean by that is like, if this all goes well, and everything is situated really comfortably, I'm set, I'm good, I'm very, very happy. But you're just so fragile. You're so fragile, and once you're popped the first time, it's gonna be hard to come back the second time. And if you want to avoid that from happening, you require an obscene amount of setup. And I just don't think you have the time in this format to do that. Maybe going forward in the next format you will, post-Banlist. But I think that's yet to be seen. I think that Shine also struggles because you can't really comfortably play any of the floodgates. And I think that's actually the main thing holding it back right now, is it can't make use of any of the powerful yellow and red floodgates because its engine is so tight. It can only really stick to its own game plan, which is really unfortunate. But I guess only time will tell. Beals. I think Beals is honestly slept on. I think it's really good. I think it's comfortably situated in a good spot. Just focusing on its own portion of game plan. Again, I think it's hard for it to kind of do its own thing without some access to floodgates, but you can tech in a couple and it'll really hurt. I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to feel really uncomfortable. It's going to worsen your mills. So yeah, I think it's here on its own merits. But again, similar to Shine, is not able to shine as much as it normally would when it comes to playing the game, because it cannot play around the best decks in the room as good as other decks can. Purple base Melga, I think, falls right here, actually. I think it's good. I think it's really solid. I think if you're playing purple base Melga, you should be playing Bellstar. I think Beelstar is the better engine and typical top end than what you would find. I think the overall purple hits, it'd probably bump it down to like here in my mind. And then post-Banlist, I think this deck becomes almost unplayable. But I think it still has a shot to be impactful and very useful here. The Mat Tamer and the option cards and everything are very fun to play with. I'm not sure how good they are, but I think they can definitely see see a lot of use. I think Devas are better than Royal Knights right now, because Royal Knights also are hurt by a lot of the very targeted floodgates that are targeting the best decks in the room. I think Royal Knights are a good deck. I think they're solid. I think they can still see success. I just don't think this current meta is the one for it. I think the one after this tournament goes in is much better for it. I think it'll be able to see a lot more success there than it would here currently. And I think that's just because people are playing around decks that kind of have I don't want to say a similar game plan, but a similar play style of playing out big guys for cheap, and just stopping you from playing those big guys for cheap makes it impossible to play this deck comfortably. War Greymon Pile, War Greymon Black, War Greymon regular OTK, I think probably fits comfortably here in my mind. I think it's good. I think it's solid. I think all three versions of those decks are really, really good. I think they have strong matchups against Apocalypse or against the Anubis. I think it fits super, super comfortably. And I think as things go forward, I think we'll see a rise in War Greymon, not after this ban list and after this tournament, but I think after the next set comes out, as Towers monsters kind of start becoming into play, and the only real way you can get rid of them is by battle. So raiding into them with thick lads is probably a way to win from going forward. So I think keep an eye out for it for sure in the future. Yeah, Anubis for sure one of the best decks. Not the best deck in the room. It is up there. You'll be playing a majority of your matchups against this and its brother Apocalypse up here. Both do something extremely overpowered in a different way. You will be outvalued, out-tempoed, rushed down. There's nothing you can do about it unless you are playing a deck or cards that are specifically situated to take advantage of some of its weaknesses or stopping it from gaining the advantages that it needs. But I mean, it's the newest one. We've seen it do good before. We'll see it do good again, and expect it to be the winner of this tournament. If not, its brother, Apocalypse. Apocalypse is super, super good. I think Apocalypse is super, super good. I think these decks are pretty negligible of which one you want to put here. I think they both have their merits, so I'll just leave it as was. I think maybe Inu is slightly better, but I think Apocalypse is so powerful, so obscenely powerful. You will watch as Apocalypse destroys your deck, and you will barely, using everything you possibly can, out it just for them to play out another one. In the moment you don't deal with one, they will play out another one, completely like halving your deck, and you don't realize how much 18 cards is, how much 8 cards is, until you start taking them from the top of your deck and just throwing them into the bin. At a certain point, you will look at your deck and feel comfortable, and they will play out 2 Apocalypse, trash 20 cards, and you will be left with nothing. And it will be devastating. And I think it is sad that we will not see more of it, because I think it is interesting. I think Mill is very interesting, but I think it is good that a type of play style that I know a majority of the player base really will not like, and really has admitted to not liking, period, will not be seeing the light of day going forward for a long time. I think that these two decks post-ban list are completely dead in their current state and will not be able to be played as they are currently being played. But again, people are testing ways to make use of them outwardly in other decks. Speaking of other decks that can make use of some of these engines, Anubis can find a new home in Leviathan. I think Leviathan is great. I think it's so good. It's situated exceptionally well in this meta. I think it's exceptionally powerful as a standalone. It works really well going forward. Post this ban list, I think it works really well going forward in this ban list. I think that you will see a lot of success in the fact that it can play really targeted floodgates. It has access to broken cards like the Garurumon bottom end that will let it consistently find the pieces that you need to actually perform your game plan, and your game plan will deal with a majority of the decks in this current meta. In fact, I will comfortably put Leviathan. I think with the Garurumon bottom end, I think it's better than Numemon because it is, I think, arguably faster. But I think that post-ban list Numemon will take its rightful spot actually as the best deck in this like can win area. But I think time will tell in that front. Yellow Vaccine. Another contender that I think is situated not only super well in this meta, but also super well going forward. Yellow Vaccine is powerful, it's fast, it's quick, and it has access to a host of advantages that other decks are not able to make use of very well. I think it's very telling that both Numemon and Patamon make use of exceptionally powerful yellow top end cards like Venus, like Ruin Mode, things like that that really play into stopping your opponent from having fun. I think that's what yellow is all about, is stopping your opponent from having fun, which is something I really have a lot of fun with. I think the things that are kind of like holding this deck back is it kind of feels like it doesn't have a lot of kill pressure sometimes. I think your security has to be exceptionally good, which as more and more support comes out becomes even easier to do as you are constantly putting things into your security that you want to find in there, that you will need to find in there later, and the amount of memory cheating that you are doing is absolutely disgusting. I think it is situated very well, and you will see more of this deck not only now but also probably going forward until this deck is hit. Next up, we've got Blue Melga. I think Blue Melga is really good. This one's a lot harder to kind of rate. So actually, I'll do that last. We've got Hunters. I think Hunters is good. Hunters is solid. The problem, I'm a Hunters fan. I love Hunters. I think Hunters is so good. The problem is that Hunters has a really hard time against Pokemon because there's not much you can really do to tuck them because you require 4 colors of Tamers. And even when you do, they may just have a single Pokemon on field, and there's not an answer that you're going to have. So the best you can do is try going under them. And if you're trying to go under a Pokemon in Anubis one, there are better decks in the format to do that with. So I think that, unfortunately, I will put it at the bottom of Cantop. And this is my bias. I could probably put it in, it's one of the options. But my bias means I have to put Hunters here because I love Hunters as a deck. I think Hunters is a super, super fun deck. And it will be a lot more viable going forward after things kind of settle down, especially if decks like Leviathan and like Numemon kind of come into play a lot more. But we will see. Then finally, Blue Base Melga. God, this deck is really fast, really good. It can make use of Bukamon, or it can just stick with the new Sunomons. It comes up every once in a while. You got the new mats, you got the whole new blue lineup, which is super good. I feel like the ace is a bit of a bait, but just because it doesn't synergize very well with what you want this deck to be doing. But also with the old support or from EX5, old quote unquote. In my mind, I haven't been playing with it too much with the blue base Melga because it's getting banned. And I didn't plan on taking this to the tournament. But with the old support from EX5, you're able to comfortably leave out a level 4 and assume it's not going to get deleted by battle, which feels really, really good. And then being able to blast into your level 5 ace feels comfortable. But I think I'll put it probably here. I think it's worse than its purple Beelstar counterpart. I think it'll find itself struggling a little bit going forward. Which is sad to say that Melga, the cards that both the new Gabumon X and the Garurumon X were printed for, is the worst deck making use of those 2 new cards out of all of the top end here, which is really, really sad. But if you guys disagree or think that there's a deck that I left out that can maybe fall into one of these top 3 categories, let me know. There's a lot of decks that I can think of down here that I think just will not be seeing the light of day, like Galactamon, the Edamon deck, the Sukamon pile that kind of like goes into the Edamon deck. We've got like fucking Grace Novamon. We've got let's see what other decks. I think like I mean, like the blue fish deck, obviously, like decks that they really just need more support to actually be useful. But listen, as a pet decker myself right now, don't give up hope. All right, Numemon I assumed would not see the light of day for a very long time. I assumed it would be Sukamon that would eventually be the one that kind of survives, but you get some insane support in Nume X and Monze X, and all of a sudden your deck is fucking crazy. It is insane, and honestly, if they print any more support for Numemon, we'll probably be seeing a Slug Bear Tears of Shirt format going forward. But that's all for this tier list. Like, subscribe, do the whole shenanigans. Thank you all for watching, and we will see how the tournament tomorrow plans out.